Welcome, everyone. I'm very proud and glad and happy to announce the opening of our today's Games Engineering Winter Expo event. And it has been traditionally established in this way, even before the pandemic hit us all. And we are very happy to continue like this, actually. But not only online, but also here in place, face-to-face, for all of those who present at least, and for the few guests who made it to campus. My name is Sebastian. I'm Professor of Games Engineering here at the University of Würzburg. And we will have quite a ride of wonderful, fast-paced pitches by our students. And the overall agenda looks like this. We will next look into the GameLab 1 projects, where the students basically conceptualize, design, develop, and test games. They're supposedly going through the whole development life cycle of a game. But of course, given the modality of the GameLab courses overall, it's not quite feasible to go AAA, but rather to target AAA at a very small scale attempt. So in the end, GameLab 1 projects typically yield proof of concept implementations of games with a focus on game mechanics and initial early game design studies. That being said, as I was pointing out, the GameLab modalities overall don't allow for grand investments, but rather those courses, they go over 1 year or 2 semesters. And what we will be witnessing today are the first presentations of the GameLab courses across all the 3 years of our program, the Bachelor of Science of Games Engineering, that have started just recently in the winter term. So, to say it in other words, what you are going to see today is a first glimpse at ongoing works that will continue for another semester. That being said, among the many projects that we are going to see, some of them are actually completed already. But those are the exceptions, and we will state that explicitly. Without further ado, I want to thank, of course, all the people who helped organize this event. There's Johannes and Simon and other tutors and teaching assistants and many more people who made this possible. After all the pictures that we will be witnessing, seeing, experiencing today, we will gladly invite you all to join us outside for a small reception with fire pits and warm wine. And now I want to pass on the stage to Dr. Martin Fischbach, who is responsible for teaching and accompanying the GameLab 1 course. And you will see me after the GameLab 1 session when we continue with GameLab 2, etc. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sebastian. Hi, I'm Martin, and yeah, Sebastian already stole quite a few of my lines telling you about GameLab 1, so this will be a quick one, I think. So I am honored to guide the students of Games Engineering through their first 2 semesters in GameLab 1. And in this module, students are tasked to elaborate individual game ideas and implement them towards a functional prototype that features roughly 20 minutes of playtime in summer. So, and since the students are only beginning to gain experience and theoretical background in other modules, GameLab 1 relies on ready-made tools like the Unreal Engine or Unity Engine, and provides introductions or intuitions into as many as possible aspects of the whole game development process. So, and now we will see what the students achieved after one semester. And this hopefully already makes us curious about the final result that will be then ready in summer, where we will have another great opportunity to showcase these projects with our summer expo here in Würzburg. Then that's all. I'm also very curious about the projects that are now presented. I will pass over to whoever has the first presentation today. So thank you very much, and a big applause for all the Game Lab 1 students that have now their presentation.
Hello, so my name is Franz Blom, and I'm making bullet hell beat game, which you can implement custom songs into and automatically generate beat maps with. Also, the enemy will use swarm behavior, and like any beat game, you have your beat mechanics. You shoot on beat, you dodge on beat, and you survive the beat in general. The actual visuals are not yet completely done, so I just made a small rendition in Blender about how it may look at the end. Like I said, only a small rendition. I will introduce many enemy types, many weapon types, and everything has a bit of different behavior, so no real gameplay will be the same from run to run. You will have different weapons, different enemies, different behaviors. Many will try to swarm you, some will just act like dumb zombies. It will really depend on what you choose and what the enemy chooses to do. Well, thank you, and on to the next one.
Hello, my name is Marco Döring, and I am creating a strategic physics-based puzzle game with trampolines. And the mechanics are that it will, smaller trampolines will bounce the items further, and it is resource-based. So yeah, enjoy.
Hello, my name is Lara Hess, and this is my game Escape Away. Escape Away is a 2D top-down survival game in which you are lost in a post-apocalyptic world full of monsters, and you have to find your way back. In order to do that, you have to reach specific destinations within a set amount of time in each level by finding the best way back and by avoiding monsters because you can't fight back.
Hello, my name is Leon Hu. My game is called Spiderhead VR. It's a VR single-player sword fighting game in which you can block projectiles and other sword attacks, and you can predict the trajectory of the projectiles. At first, you can see I have a sword. It still wobbles a bit. And next, you can see that I can block the projectiles, that I block the damage on the top left bar. And once the sword isn't in the way anymore, then it stops blocking the attacks, as so. And I plan to implement it so that the trail gets a bit more visible. And next, you can see that I can already damage enemies. I can stab them, or later you can also see that I can swing at them and deal more damage in that way. Yep, that's it.
Microphone. I think first name was different.
Okay. Hello, I'm Marian Kirschning,
And I'm Robert Barth.
and we are presenting our game Water Temple. It's a puzzle platformer inspired by Mega Man and Metroid. And its core mechanic is that you can pull ice blocks out of water sources.
Our unique selling point is that you build platforms, find your own way to solve the challenges, and explore the temple freely.
Great.
Hello everyone, my name is Vivian Klose and I want to introduce you to my game Nocturnal. In this puzzle adventure you are playing as a fox, which is active during the night, and therefore you can be dazzled if the light is too bright. What makes Nocturnal different to other games is that you are able to switch between 4 different light levels.
Hello, my name is Hong Da Liu. My Game Lab 1 project is a 2D puzzle game. There are 3 kinds of characters in my game, cat, rat, and can. They have mutual constraints. Players collect cans to feed cats. Without cans, the cats will ignore him. Then go to the rats, and the cats will catch them. After all the rats having been caught, the player passed the level. But be careful, without pets, the rats can rob the cans, which may lead to the failure. And the number on the cell means how many times you can step on it. So plan your route in advance carefully. Then let's go to my trailer. Thanks for your attention.
In our project Warmth, the player gets to navigate a small lantern through a hostile environment. The environment is supposed to become more welcoming as the game goes on by returning the flame to other lanterns.
Yes, and we also want to incorporate a combat system. And after beating bosses, you gain different kinds of upgrades and power-ups. And they will also come back to serve you as a kind of shopkeeper selling you all kinds of upgrades in exchange for money. And since our focus is heavily on the atmosphere, we want to orient it on games like Hollow Knight. Thank you.
So, hello, my name is Konstantin Pasik, and I'm developing the Sorcerer VR. The Sorcerer VR plays in a modern world, and you play as a magician who can cast spells by drawing gestures into the air, just like the circle or a rectangle, whatever you like. With those spells, you can attack enemies and collect new spells. And those new spells, for those new spells, you can override their gestures with new ones. So if you're not happy with drawing a sphere or a circle, you can change it to a triangle. And yeah, the gestures are harder to save, harder to cast. The more damage a gesture does, and the bigger the radius is. Yeah, that sums up the game, and now enjoy the trailer. Thank you for your attention.
Hello, my name is Max Sander, and in my game Fitcat, you beat hordes of enemies by pushing and pulling and throwing objects. That's it. Is it done?
Just a reminder for everyone, the order of the center is on the left.
Sorry, my name is Min. My partner Vincent sadly couldn't make it. But yes, we would like to present to you a playlist roguelike. We would like called Spotify. We're not sure if it's okay for legal reasons. In Spotify, you accompany a child on its way to fight insomnia through the power of music. It revolutionizes the idea of a game music by letting you choose your soundtrack yourself through a Spotify playlist, and the game will generate rooms based on the songs in this said playlist. So you can see the player builds the dungeon with the songs he selected from his playlist. And once you play the game, you will be able to go into the rooms, which will be different based on whatever song it is, and fight against enemies.
Hello, my name is Mark Weingärtner.
And Cedric Perez. And we're presenting to you our new game, Switch Time. It is basically a 2D top-down game and inspired by a level from Dishonored 2.
In this game, you can sneak around enemies, find your way around the environment, and you can solve riddles. Now let's come to the trailer.
Hello, I'm Lucas Wutke, and my game is Freeman. Freeman is a prison escape game that relies heavily on stealth mechanics. It has a flashlight-shaped field of view cone to limit the player's vision, and it will eventually feature multiple endings depending on which route you choose. The stealth system will be comparable to most other stealth games, where prison guards, in this case, will take a certain amount of time to detect you. And your objective is to escape from the prison you're locked up in, whichever way you can find. If you time it right, maybe you will even overhear conversations between prison guards to find out more about interesting details. As mentioned, you can already see the functionality of the limited FOV in this game capture. You cannot see past certain objects like walls or these fence pieces, which means that enemies will stay hidden behind them. Talking about enemies, this is an example of an enemy entity. It has its own view cone that behaves the same as the player's. If the player steps into it, the enemy will detect the player depending on how far away the player is. The detection speed will vary. Once the player is detected, it will stay detected and the game is over. Thank you for your attention.
Hi everyone, my name is Tim Zwanzig and my game is called Project Island of the Lost. Project Island of the Lost is an RPG-like game with turn-based battles. The main character is stranded on an island without knowing how he got there or any other memories at all. He now needs to find his way off the island. Some of the battles have a twist though, because they have a battle-affecting dialogue before the battle starts. This means the player can give different answers which affect the battle afterwards. For example, better attack, better defense, or who attacks first. But you don't know what each answer will do before you choose it. Now take a look at a little early state battle. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sophie Bellinger and this is Marion Götze and we present to you our game Nakala.
Our game is a 2D platform, adventure and fighting game. We have inspired ourselves by the nature itself and 4 different elements, which you will also be seeing in the video. It's a co-op and a split screen game, which means you can play with 2 players. Both of the players can attack their friends and collect items.
And now you're going to see the video. At the beginning, you're going to see the story of the 2 realms and after that the gameplay.
Hello, my name is Matthias.
I'm Philip, and we are developing Fiber Rider. Fiber Rider is an arcade-like racing game where we have to maneuver around a 360-degree racing track. And the track will get thinner over time. And when the track gets too thin, the game will end. Your goal will be to collect power-ups, items, to restore the track thickness, to travel fast, to travel longer. And yeah, your goal is to make a new high score. Enjoy our little trailer.
Hello, I am Andreas, and this semester I worked on Turbo Faust, which is a game about hitting stuff really fast. Please enjoy the teaser trailer. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, now we have seen all the presentations for the Game Lab 1, and we have a few minutes for questions and answers. So for everybody that joined through Zoom, there should be also the Q&A function. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them, then we might answer them. Otherwise, for the people in the audience, we have a cube with a microphone in it. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them too, or like raise your hand and then we will throw the cube to you. So everybody would be able to hear you. Are there any questions about any of the projects we've seen so far? I see one raised hand.
So for on the project SitCat, I think Max presented that. Why do we see a pizza?
I did not understand you.
Sorry?
I did not understand you.
Why did you use a pizza for the cursor?
Well, probably at the time when I made it.
So will it remain a pizza?
It's a winner.
Oh, well, good that we talked about it. What else? More questions? I mean, you get this super funky, super awesome, echo-oriented. Yay! Microphone. Nobody wants to play with this. Hey! Oh! I don't know. No, not a playful crowd here. Maybe question from the chat.
We have one question. So, yeah, sure. The question was like, if you can be cheering on good projects, and the answer is yes. Thank you.
Okay, so if these are all the questions we have currently, oh no, I see a raised hand. So
you want the echo cube?
Okay.
Hello. Yeah, I have a question to the project Water Temple. Yeah, okay, you guys. So will you implement bosses to Water Temple?
Thank you. So we thought about enemies, and we didn't find a reason, and seems like more strat-based puzzles and platform challenges are the way to go. So maybe, it's a big maybe.
Yeah, then, so now if there aren't any other questions, originally we planned for a short break, but I don't think we need one yet, so maybe later. Do you agree? So then for the next presentations, we'll have the Game Lab 2, but also with a short introduction, I think.
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, let me use the opportunity to congratulate those students who have just presented their Game Lab 1 projects. I think there was not the hysterical cheering atmosphere in the crowd because maybe people are a little bit drawn back, held back by the streaming setup or whatever else, I don't know. But many of the ideas that we have seen and also the early concept works that you have presented, the demos, they are looking quite promising. I'm very happy about your presentations. Thank you very much for sharing. I'm looking very much forward to seeing the full experiences at the Summer Expo on the 21st of July. That being said, I also have the honor to introduce the Game Lab 2 project just briefly. The Game Lab 2, and you witnessed what the Game Lab 1s are about. It's about diving into game design, game development, the full development life cycle, as I emphasized earlier today. The Game Lab 2s are different in the sense that you dive deeper, the students dive deeper into game development, game design, technology. And when this whole program of study of games engineering here at the university started, I took it really, let's say, a very cautious approach. And my cautious approach resulted in the students being allowed, just like in Game Lab 1, to pitch any ideas that come to their minds. And if they sounded reasonable in the scope of a Game Lab 2 project, then they had green lights. But the problem with this approach is that the development and the design only happened between the students' imagination, their individual targets and interests, which is a good thing to begin with, and our feedback, which is also a good thing. But only these two factors, they don't cut it. Typically, you need the people who really want to use the technology beyond the ones who develop the technology. And this is why relatively early on, we had the first external stakeholders in the Game Lab 2 context. First, only very few external stakeholders accompanied individual projects and asked for specific requirements to be fulfilled by the individual projects. But they became more and more, because I also developed the comfort and ease and the professionalism to cope with all of that. And I know that for you, the students, it's also a huge challenge to cope with all of that. But now, as of this year, well, as of last year, all the Game Lab 2 projects are fully driven by human-centered engineering projects, and all feature according stakeholderships, mostly towards the outside of the university walls. And this makes them quite interesting, quite appealing, quite unique, and of course also very challenging. Today, Just like in the GameLab 1 context, we see the current state of affairs of all these GameLab 2 projects that follow this human-centered engineering approach. And I welcome all the students that are listed here to the stage and pitch the current states of the project. Thank you very much.
Hey, I'm Franziska,
Hello, I'm Robert.
and together we are currently working on the visualization of the time machine, navigating historic and future data spaces, in cooperation with Stefan Föllert and Jana Blechschmidt from our university's biological faculty. In our project, we managed to convert large GeoTIFF files and create these full 2D maps out of them. We also have managed to create a timeline where you can navigate through these images. And now, please enjoy our trailer.
Hello, I'm David. And I am Tobias. And together we are making the AI backend of the Time Machine project. When working with land use data, you often run into the problem that some years have incomplete data or missing altogether. This also affects our project buddies who are trying to visualize the change of land use over time in their part of the app.
To solve this issue, we are creating a predictive AI which fills those gaps and also tries to predict the future. No more struggle with missing data. Here's how it works.
To predict a map, you simply need to have a folder which contains the datasets you want the gaps filled of. Datasets need to be TIFF files containing raster data. And there's no need to manually assign years to each timestamp, as the program automatically does it for you.
To predict stuff, we obviously need to train some sort of model first. The training data is generated by splitting the map into smaller tiles and filtering out those tiles that do not make for good training data. The model then looks at how the center of each tile changes between the years and learns from that. We currently use a gradient-boosted decision tree powered by the LightGBM library. The high speed of that specific library is very appreciated for datasets of this size.
After the model has been trained, we want to use it to fill the gaps. It automatically detects which years are missing and generates a TIFF files with a prediction for each one. Here are the results for Germany in the year 2018. As you can see, the prediction for the map is pretty accurate.
Hello everyone, my name is Moritz Raub, and together with my team partner Norbert Mauermann, we are developing a geodata visualization plugin for Unreal Engine 5. As requested from our stakeholder Helge Olberding from Technische Hochschule Würzburg-Schweinfurt, our tool is able to import geodata sets into the engine, as well as visualize them as markers like you can see in the picture. Once the markers are placed into the scene, the user is able to adjust several settings, like for example marker size or marker asset, Our tool also provides the possibility to cluster nearby markers into a group. This also works dynamically in real runtime based on the camera distance. And now enjoy a little showcase of our current prototype.
All right, so after importing a data set, you can create a tool in which you can add the data table and the marker asset to then create a marker system. And on the right side, you have now multiple settings. For example, you can adjust the marker size. You can enable the same screen size mode. And further down, we have the clustering. You can select the cluster strength. The stronger, the less markers you have. You can also adjust the size of the cluster points, which means the more markers are in a cluster point, the bigger the asset gets. You can also turn on the dynamic clustering. And as you go in now, you can see that the clusters begin to open up. And you can also choose a different asset for the cluster points, so you can distinguish between single markers and cluster points. Thank you.
Hi, we're Vincent and Max, and we want to present you the CityGML import plugin for Unreal Engine 5. Our key features are that we are accessing the Unreal Engine, which is a very potent tool for the target audience to use, and it's easy to use and easy handling when importing and visualizing CityGML data. CityGML is a data format to store to store city models.
Imagine you find yourself in a VR setting and you're able to interact with your environment via natural language without having to remember any commands beforehand. My name is Marie and this is my team partner Daniel.
Together with the company Lautmaler, we are currently working on improving an existing prototype called TalkingXR. Our goal is to better differentiate the possible interactions with the individual objects of the game world, as well as optimize data transfer between the different backend programs.
Hi there. Hi there, and welcome to this experiment. Feel free to have a look around. Can you say hello?
Hello.
Well, here's the challenge. You cannot touch the objects. Also, you can only perform one action with one object at a time. I'll be here if you need anything.
Move the cube to the left.
We have added an easy-to-access interface that makes it possible to define how users can interact with each object, as well as an interaction to tell you what each object can do.
What can I do with the blue cube?
The blue cube has the following properties: can be selected, can move.
Each interaction has to be implemented in Unity. The natural language understanding software Rasa, and Jovo. Jovo is the framework in which the logic for the dialog flows in. Our Jovo implementation for the shared properties interaction performs an object disambiguation and selects the correct speech output according to the object's possible interactions.
Hey guys, my name is Tobias.
And my name is Johannes Troll.
And we're working in collaboration with InfoSim on our project Collaborative Graph Editing. Well, it doesn't sound that nice, does it? Graph editing, what does graphing even mean? Well, graphs are used everywhere in our daily lives, from the predictive AI models like GPT-3 trying to seduce you into thinking that 2 + 2 might indeed be equal to 5, or the traffic you get stuck in every day. Everything relies on graphs and networks, and these need to be maintained and changed. And what does it mean to do this collaboratively? Well, you don't want to work with graphs alone that have like 600+ nodes. You want to kind of share this and work with other people around it to make it a lot easier. And we also, since work is still underway right now, we have features yet to implement, like a node locking feature to stop people from griefing you, and well, being able to just have your part of the graph for you and work with it to have no paradoxes at all. And for all the Game Awards enthusiasts out there, I would say it's time for a world premiere for our first working proof of work.
So we are thrilled to show you our graph editor. You can zoom in, pan, and move nodes around. If the nodes are connected by edges, you can move the entire graph around. Looking at the toolbar on the upper left side, you have the possibilities to import and export graphs and undo and redo. To spawn a new node, simply press the node button. With the edge button, you can create edges between nodes. You also can see which users are inside this collaborative graph editor and working together. And by clicking the right button on the top right, it brings up a change history of the graph, and every action will be documented and can be verified by everyone inside our editor. Thanks for your attention.
Hi, I'm Sven Gerlach, and I created the Unity plugin Dynamic IK with VR here at University of Würzburg. And when we imagine playing a VR game, we often think that we have an avatar that mirrors our movements completely exactly like we do. If we move our hand and our elbow, our avatar is going to do exactly the same. But in reality, of course, that's not really the case. Standard VR setups only have your headset and your handheld devices to have your position data, so we have to guess where the elbow is. My plugin helps with these distracting visuals by hiding them, reducing your avatar to simple stylistic visual.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our short introduction of our Unity plugin, which is Detect2D. This is Petra. I'm Sebastian. Detect2D is a fully fledged detection system for Unity, which comes with a
detection module for vision and sound, but can also be expanded by any other detection system you could think of. As you can see here, you can customize the vision cone of agents in your custom script. And the vision detection system also comes with a vision representation. So it dynamically generates meshes for the vision cone and also the vision status. For example, if an agent is in the process of detecting something.
The second module focuses on objects that can create sounds and alert agents in a certain range. The range, as well as if you want to display the range of the object and the sounds, can all be added within the custom editor. So it's focused mainly on usability. How can I, as easily as possible, manage this, change the colors, the range, everything.
And yeah, here you can see the modules in action. So as you can see, it can dynamically display all the changes, and we really wanted to focus on having every single option modular and changeable in your project. Thank you.
A lot of people nowadays want to escape reality that we all live in. But some then cut themselves off from civilization by playing video games and, quite frankly, don't learn anything of value. But what if it didn't have to be like that? What if you could escape reality, but still learn something about said reality? My name is Anton Hertel, and I present to you in cooperation with Lotum Virtual Quiz Planet. The idea is to realize the existing quiz game Quiz Planet in virtual reality. Now please enjoy and maybe guess along during the trailer of the currently existing preview.
We all know the typical quiz games. 90% of the time we are given a question, we have absolutely no clue what the answer is and just guess. And that can become quite boring after some time. You might learn something new, but you're never really hooked on the experience. And that's where virtual reality comes into play. In Virtual Quiz Planet, you will be immersed in the game as if you were in an actual quiz show. You will be able to play against your opponent in real time and use items that you won in mini-games to distract them or give yourself an advantage. Escape reality in a virtual one, but still stay connected by gaining knowledge. For now, you see the same experience you have on your phone, but in 3D. But hearing about all the new inventions that are coming to the world of quiz games, doesn't that excite you? What else is going to happen in Virtual Quiz Planet?
Thank you.
We all know the tips.
Did you ever want to design your level automatically? Well, you can with our GameLab 2 project, which we developed together with our stakeholders, 4 heads for the upcoming game, Electrified. I'm Silvi Rogentin.
I'm Virender Kumar, and together we're working on an add-on called Procedural Generator, with which you can create 3D content procedurally. That means you can cut the meshes of your assets to create repeatable pattern. And afterwards, you can use the add-on to design your 2D levels with your assets.
But see for yourself. Thank you for your attention.
Hi,
Are you using the Julia programming language for developing a data model or a simulation, especially in the fields of biology or ecology? And are you done with seeing your data only in an output console or a graph plotter? Then the Julia Unity package might be exactly for you. Hi, I'm Nico, and I created the Julia Unity package in cooperation with Anne Leverens. Enjoy the teaser.
The Julia Unity package allows you to create interactive applications like games or 3D simulations in which the user is able to interactively and playfully learn more about your work. The included editor window allows an easy Julia installation and setup of your machine. The package also provides an interface for your own implementation of a messaging system for displaying Julia's errors. Include your Julia files in the Julia scripts folder on the same level as your assets folder, and reference them in the inclusions text file. Now place the required mono behaviors into your scene and call the required functions to start and access Julia. The Julia Unity package was, for an example, used for the MGM simulation, an aquatic plant growth simulation based on Anne Leverens' model written in Julia. Based on this, the MGM simulation displays the growth of plants and the change in water quality.
Thank you for your attention.
Every game developer knows the problem. You're creating a beautiful landscape, but you're missing plants. Therefore, Emil Valrav and I, Jan Ruppert, are currently developing the Unity plugin Plant Generator in cooperation with our stakeholders Grid Group.
Our plugin enables you to create all kinds of different plants directly from your imagination into Unity. And our current prototype is already able to create a wide selection of different plants using parameters you can select. And we are currently working on making the growth processes more editable and better looking.
Full understanding of the human body. Yes, we are working towards that goal. What started as a basic simulation of the human blood platelet now aims to let researchers create any cell with custom behavior. I'm Tobias, and together with my team partner Dennis and the chair of bioinformatics, we are developing the virtual platelet project. And now enjoy our trailer.
The blood platelet is one of the most important components of the human blood. Scientists and researchers have been conducting dozens of studies to understand the behaviors and features as much as possible. Together with the chair of bioinformatics, we are developing the virtual platelet project, which is a software that lets the user create custom behaviors for such a platelet. There are currently 4 different behaviors to choose from: the release, movement, aggregation, and the shape change behavior. In the following example, we will take a look at the creation of a rule linked to the shape change behavior. Here the user specifies a new rule by changing the value at which the shape change takes place. In the simulation, the platelet will then enact the previously modified behavior. The goal of the Virtual Platelet project is to create a framework for scientists that helps to research and simulate the effects of the platelets in the bloodstream.
Hi, my name is Moritz. And my name is Thomas, and we are developing UI toolkit for scientific plots in Unity.
The goal is to create a highly customizable plotting system for Unity, so a user can display data in highly customizable plot. As you see, this is kind of a prototype. The user can set the axis values, axis names, plot names, and display how the data he chose is presented. For example, in line or scatter plot or as a heat map. And the current state is we worked on the axis generation, so you can set the value range for each axis and the tick rating as the base system for placing the upcoming data. You can also set the aspect ratio. And along these axes, the single data values are going to be placed. And you can also generate heat map like this, where the color represents the signal strength of each data. And thank you for your attention.
Did you ever have to work yourself into code written by others and you didn't even know where to begin? We're here to help you with that. This is Yannick, I'm Veronica, and together with the BE GmbH, we've created the Code Explorator. As the name already suggests, it lets you explore the code, and it visualizes it interactively as a class diagram. And it also lets you see bad code more easily. This is our proof of concept where you can see a class, in this case named player, and we're able to analyze it and extract its information, including of the class itself, as well as the methods and variables.
And now let me show you a quick graphical mockup. This one looks UML-like, and we can see that the player class is currently focused. Here, only the non-private members are expanded. Now imagine that I'd select the enemy class. And now the focus shifted to the enemy class, and we can see that a new class slid into the view, namely the spawner class, because it references the enemy class. And finally, imagine that I'd click the attack player method. And now this method is focused. And now we can see all references where this method is called, and we can also see all references that are made within this attack player class. Thank you for your attention.
To step inside of an image and be fully immersed. To create stories from the places that you have visited in a full 360 degrees. Hello, I'm Alexandra and this is Feline, and we are working on an add-on for ImaGallery. ImaGallery is an app that allows you to view immersive images and create your own galleries. Currently, in order to do so, you need to fill out this form that you can see here, which is complicated. We are working on a solution to improve the step for the user by developing a menu environment for VR. This is our proof of concept.
Through the provided file explorer, you can choose which images you want to load into your digital workspace. They will appear as interactable orbs. By putting them into slots on the picture holder, you can determine the order in which they will later be shown in. And by dragging one onto your head, you will switch to the audio workspace, where you can add audio, a voiceover, and/or effects. If you have decided on these, you can switch back to the picture workspace and continue with your work. Thank you for your attention.
Hello, my name is Hong Dalu. I'm here again. My GameLab 2 project is stitching dual fisheye images into VR 360. It will be used for immersive photography. It allows the users to recreate the world they previously captured directly in the VR headset. So how does it work, and how is my work going now? I will introduce it with a video. First step is to take dual fisheye images with some cool cameras, and then you get dual fisheye images like this. Then it comes to my work, C++ OpenCV-based stitcher. It stitches the double parts of the fisheye images into one equirectangular image, but it still has some mismatches. I circled them out. Then I make a small demo to show it in VR 360, and you can see it looks fairly natural and real. And finally, it still needs some promotion, and the most important thing is to compile it for the usage in Android so that it can be used in Oculus headset. Thank you for your attention.
Hi, my name is Max. Drusi can't be here today, but we're working together on the wire generator plugin for the upcoming game Electrified by our stakeholder 4Hats. With this plugin, you can create wires in Unity. Please enjoy this trailer of our current progress.
My name is Julian, this is Max, and our project is called Map to Map, which is a tool with a goal to simplify the creation of semi-open world maps via drag and drop. You'll be able to choose from several custom default objects like trees, rocks, mountains, cities, and also custom edit objects, and add them to your map. When you're finished, you'll be able to export it to Blender and edit it further.
Yeah, as you could see, our GUI is still a work in progress. It's not functioning as intended at the moment, but we're working on that. With that being said, our main functionality of like spawning in simple and complex meshes is coming along quite well. And we just have to tweak some of the grid that you can like scale it down a bit. Thanks for your attention.
Greetings, I'm Frederick and I developed the Unity plugin Fancy Splines, which is a tool for customizing and rendering splines. As you can see, the spline is customized with a set of control points. Afterwards, a mesh is created along the spline with customizable parameters. The mesh data can then be used to apply textures to the splines. Or in shaders, you can achieve a variety of visual effects by using the data the mesh holds. And also objects can be instantiated along the spline with various rotations and offsets and so on. That's it. Thank you for your attention.
Oh, not yet. I think, yeah, we've had all the GameLab 2 presentations now. And again, we have a few minutes for some Q&A. So again, if anybody in the Zoom webinar has some questions, just write them in the Q&A function. Otherwise, also here in the audience, if anybody has questions, feel free to raise your hand and we'll throw the cube to you. And I think, are you unmuted? Yes, that should work.
Okay, so
wait a minute. Try it again, yeah.
Okay.
We fixed the issues. Okay, yeah, Martin. Okay.
So I have a general question. In GameLab 1, it's Unreal or Unity. Is this the case here as well, that it's bound to those two engines? Because I was questioning a bit in the first, at least the first two projects, if it would be not nicer to have this like available via HTML-based format, like these datas and landscapes or these maps that have been presented, if it would be not more accessible if you could just go to a website and explore the data there. So is this a plugin for one of the engines? For you or the teams? You want to answer this, Sebastian?
Just check whether I understood your question because you're so busy with this echo. Yeah. So your question was whether these plugins or technologies are all aimed at Unity or Unreal? The answer is not specifically. It can be just like in the GameLab 1. I mean, we teach specific engines, right, as part of the exercises. We do the same in the GameLab 2 exercises, where we, of course, have to elaborate about user interface implementations, the GUI, etc., but it's completely up to the individual projects and the students' ideas how to solve the given issues. So it can be anything. And in the last iteration of GameLab 2, we also, for instance, had one team that worked on a Godot plugin for level creation, which was very as well. I was a stakeholder with my private little game. But then also you saw some of the projects that were presented today. And this is actually nice now that you don't hear the echo anymore, but people online still hear the microphone if everything's working out. Yeah. So it still makes sense for me to hold this cube, but now without the distraction. So as I was just saying, as you were just seeing, some of the projects are tailored towards Android SDKs, for instance, that run just on either the headsets or mobiles, or it doesn't matter. So it's completely up to what solution you're taking.
And in the specific cases, like the first and second project was presented?
Oh yeah, the first project, Robert and Franziska decided on using Unity, but I'm not sure it's a necessity. It could just as well be done over a web interface or something like that. And David and Tobias, I don't think they are concerned at all about these interactive. Yeah, exactly. The second one is in the back, and of course they use, for instance, the respective Python frameworks for machine learning and the whatever Boost library that Tobias mentioned, which is very efficient learning based on neural networks and large data sets, etc., etc. So it's completely open, really. But at the same time, since we have to teach the basic concepts, given some concrete concepts, contexts, we resort to Unreal and Unity in the exercises. Who wants to have the non-echoing echo cube? Well,
I have more questions.
Cool.
Okay, so the next one is targeting the Talking XR presentation, like that we saw speech interface, maybe speech and gesture interface. Are there any concrete plans to make a game using this interface, like some kind of adventure game, or I'm not sure if I can throw that far. Marvin, you are playing football.
Well, we can teamwork. So you throw and then somebody else goes.
So I don't think there's any exact plans. I don't think there's any exact plans what our stakeholders want to do with the project once it's done yet. So we are trying to keep it as general and adjustable as possible, I guess.
Okay. So we tried a few ideas in this direction. A few years ago. So if you are interested after the project, you are working with your stakeholder anymore, could be a good thing. So proper email and see if you can do something in the direction and stuff.
Sure. At the uni? It sounds cool though.
Would be an impossibility. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Display the list of projects that we have seen. Because I think what's the new one?
I could also do it here, I guess.
You want to start? I first have to see if I have an additional question. So anyone who wants to ask something before, it's fine for me. Yes, and I'm not sure if I have enough.
Yeah, I wondered, Sebastian and Peter, because I wasn't quite sure about your update of your who's the stakeholder or the targeted stakeholder? Oh, okay, but the course has changed, you know that, right? Okay, cool. Just to make sure. And what else? Oh yeah, Yannick and Veronica, your project coordinator. It wasn't clear to the audience, I'm afraid, what the current state of implementation is, because you showed a very nice mock-up that made a lot of sense. But maybe people are interested how you have been doing what exactly and what the next step is. That would be really interesting. Yeah, it goes again.
Can you say the questions again once more, please?
What's the current state of your project and how are you addressing all of that?
Okay, so the current status quo is that we were able to read out code via the Grossman compiler, so the C# compiler, and we can fully analyze the whole Unity project, for example. What we don't have yet is the graphical representation of all of those information. That's why we only show the mockup. And that's also what we're going to do next, that we'll tackle the graphical user interface where the user can then navigate through the classes and through the references of his code.
As a Unity plugin, if that was your question. That's it? Okay. Muss ich werfen? YouTube.
The Fiber Writer, and we're now heading maybe towards a break, but definitely we will have this get together at the end. So please find each other, talk a bit about your projects, and maybe you can share some experiences. Think you will benefit from that.
Yeah, and also discuss Unity's latest spine implementations that come built. That being said, thank you for lining up, but I think we really need a break now. So how about 1:45? Yes?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so we reconvene 1:45. Don't leave the overall event, even if it was already done. Thank you. See you in a bit.
Okay, so I don't know if everybody could hear it, but we'll have a short break until for like 10 minutes around. Yeah, 10, 11 minutes.
Okay, so we come to the third and final session of today's streaming event. And in this session, we will see two kinds of works presented. On the one hand, the GameLab 3 projects. It's kind of obvious since we talked about GameLab 1 and 2 before. Now it's GameLab 3. For everyone who is not familiar with what GameLab 3 entails, it's basically the students' emancipation of any kinds of engines, game engines that are provided to them to run their projects, to host and entertain their technology, but rather to program and develop and design game content at the very bare level of OpenGL and additional libraries for importing various kinds of data. On the other hand, we will not only see the GameLab 3 projects being presented, but also some of the Games Engineering Bachelor of Science thesis projects. And those thesis projects, they are, of course, targeting a scientific piece of work, but the methodology of those respective thesis projects can vary quite a bit. Some of them might be tailored more towards human-centered user study designs, etc., and evaluations. Others might be more tailored towards computer graphics algorithms and performance measures, etc., etc. So we'll just see what the day today holds for us. Without further ado, I'll ask the first presenters to the stage. Amelie, please.
Hello, my name is Amelie Hetterich, and in my GameLab 3 project, I'm creating a 2D endless jumping game with shooting elements. The goal of the game is to survive as long as possible and to get as high as you can jump. In my space shooting game, you're surrounded by platforms and meteors. You can jump on the platforms to take you higher. These objects spawn around you, so the game is potentially endless. There's also meteors that are moving around you, but you should avoid them at all costs to not get hit and receive any damage. Instead of avoiding them, you can also try to shoot them to get rid of them. The platforms are also destroyable. But when destroying the platforms, you should be careful to not overdo it and destroy the ground you're standing on. In that case, you can just create new platforms with a simple click, if you have absorbed enough objects. That happens by shooting them. For every few shot objects, like meteors and platforms, you can create new platforms. Various aspects of the game are easily adjustable, such as speed and amount of objects. That way you can adjust the difficulty level for each game you're playing to make it either slower and easier or more fast-paced and harder. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Spencer Hünting, and I'm presenting you Man in the Middle. Man in the Middle is a 2D puzzle game with an escape room character, I would like to say. In Man in the Middle, you first observe an NPC and what he does over a certain period of time. And then in the next step, you overtake this NPC and try to replicate what the NPC has done or what you have witnessed. And while you're mimicking the NPC, you can find clues to answer the puzzle. Let's have a look at the trailer.
Hi, I'm Leonard, and I am doing the Pixel Physics engine. It's basically an engine where you can do a whole world on a texture, on 2D texture, and simulate the pixels using built-in physics. simple physics at that. So basically you have full control over every pixel that is drawn. And this allows you to, for example, do simple explosions very easily because you can just remove those pixels and splash them around. And yeah, those textures, you can just load images into the engine and they get loaded as a world. And yeah, you can do that at every resolution, but of course, performance will suffer from that. I also included a fast a UI HTML renderer for fast UI prototyping. Yeah, and my game is Pixel Artillery, basically a Worms clone that's turn-based, an artillery shooting game, and you can play against a computer or local player and just see for yourself. Thank you very much.
Okay, hello. I'm Kiran. I'm presenting my game, Rampage, and the engine alongside that I built to make this game. The game is a simple tower defense where you collect resources to build towers, and the twist comes when you build towers or collect these resources, you influence the pathing of the enemy, so you have to be basically smart about where you harvest your resources, where you build your powers. Yes, the engine, it's a 3D engine using C++ and OpenGL, and it has an entity component system, scene graph, event system. It has its own asset pipeline, and it also supports basic C-flat, IMGUI, and Solr. And with that, enjoy the trailer. Without audio.
Can you create the sound? Much better. Now I can feel it.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Henrik, and I am here to present you the current state of my game Space Shooter, which is based on the GameLab 3 exercise example engine. Game's core features are that you are in space and you shoot. Also, it has some really unique features like very smooth movement, which includes bevel roll, or as we like to say in Germany, Fassrolle. With that being said, enjoy the teaser. Yeah.
really hard to present after that. All right. I'm Ennis, and my project's called Crimson Island. It's a top-down 2D game in which you mine resources, fight enemies, and explore the ancient island of Crimson. And my project is mostly inspired by Stardew Valley. And yeah, I'll show you the small teaser I prepared now. Thanks.
So, hi there. I'm Annika, and you'll be looking at both my GameLab 3 engine and the corresponding game, and my bachelor thesis with the dedicated project. In C++, I programmed a 2D point-and-click engine called Age. YAML allows the user to build his game scenes without programming knowledge and in an easy text-based way. With the help of my Age, I developed a 2D point-and-click murder mystery time travel adventure called Frostgrenze. You play an agent sent to investigate the missing soldiers of a remote outpost, and each of your interactions is coupled with a timer, pushing you relentlessly forward in the story and toward your and your colleague's death if you can't put a stop to the plans of an undead princess. For my bachelor thesis, we'll be looking at my VR project, Bit Virtuell. That was done in collaboration between games engineering and the university library. I reconstructed a Baroque library that was destroyed in the Second World War. And although there is a modern real-world reconstruction of the building, and with its columns, the burnable materials, of course, can't be rebuilt that easy. The thesis will, the themes of the thesis are the project lifecycle with its agile development and VR best practices and examination of user acceptance tests. The player starts in the modern version of the library hall and teleports to the past, where he is greeted typically by a grumpy old German librarian that tells him he should be very careful with his precious books and please to be quiet.
Wie kommen Sie denn hier rein? Ach, wieder ein Besucher aus einer anderen Zeit. Ein Wort zu Beginn. Sie dürfen sich hier gerne umsehen und in den Büchern blättern. Aber seien Sie bloß leise und bringen Sie nichts durcheinander, denn alle Bücher sind wohl geordnet.
Thanks.
So I'm Anna, and for my GameLab 3, I developed the RiftGen engine alongside a game called This Machine Kills, which is a Wolfenstein-inspired 2D 2.5D first-person shooter that uses guitars as game controllers. And I would say we will start the trailer.
And for all your projects, we should have had trigger warnings.
Oh. So we have multiple rendering options like a 2D renderer, in-game GUI renderer, and a 2.5D renderer. And furthermore, we also support animations and even an editor for that. And also the main part is the audio detection with note detection, chord detection, and onset detection. And finally, we have a fancy extendable editor with serialization support and also a tile map editor where you can place your own MIDI files to get them analyzed and place prefabs according to the chords in the file. And this can also be used in the game to create custom levels. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now for my thesis, I designed and developed a serious game on the prevention of drug abuse, and the result is called Baked Burger Bash. It is a single-player cooking game with a perception-altering twist, and ultimately it should be used to enhance the drug prevention program for adolescents by simulating cannabis intoxication in VR. So. First, the player starts in the tutorial and can then experience a sober round to create a baseline for the experience before being confronted with the choice whether to smoke a joint or not. Similar to the real black market situation, you don't know what you get. And in that case, it was quite easy with CBD. So there we only experience sleepiness. And then for THC, obviously, the effects are simulated, like increased heart rate and visual impairments, and a more abstract version of things like confusion and forgetfulness. Similarly to a black market, you can also get cannabis laced with synthetic cannabinoids, and this causes more profound effects such as paranoia and also the risks of passing out. Ultimately, players are presented with an UI that shows the stats as well as the experience by presenting the effects and their intensities. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Jonas, and I'm presenting you Attack on Space Station Asteroid. It's built in my custom engine that focuses on providing a reactive ECS. Reactive here meaning that only entities that are updated or changed actually get processed. This also allows for good performance. Yeah. Trailer. Also made it possible to have a large simulated asteroid belt that you can see in the background. Completely physics-based and interactable without any performance issues.
Now, for my bachelor thesis, I'm currently working on engineering a procedural shader-based animation editor. First of all, the motivation of for this development is that when you simulate large crowds, animations are often a bottleneck and can be very complex for many entities. Already some games fixed it for fish and foliage like Absu or Ghost of Tsushima by parameterizing the animations via mathematical functions and moving it into the vertex shader as displacements. But some few problems arise with that. First of all, these animations always need to be custom built and require the user or the developer to know the maths and imagine it, and that costs time and money. So we have problems of reusability, delayed feedback, and missing behavior info. These should be improved by providing a general shader template, visualizations, and a live refresh. First of all, for reusability and feedback. But with the use of Unreal Material functions, we can easily abstract these shader animations as a material function and reuse it live in the editor. For visualization, a special editor window should be created where you can preview the functions that displace the single vertices without without affecting the mesh directly. Yeah, and also the weights of the animation. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm Jonas. Welcome to what is probably my last presentation here. I'd like to present my exposé for my bachelor thesis, which is called Agent Collision Avoidance in Dynamic High-Risk Environments. In many jobs where people work close to moving objects or just in confined spaces, there's a high risk of collisions between people and dynamic objects, which usually end quite badly with a high risk of serious injuries or even death. So it's really important to secure pathing and to secure the working conditions in general. In my thesis, the goal is to validate if the usage of agent-based collisions and systems behind this to simulate pathing can reduce these risks and obviously reduce incidents in a meaningful way. To test this, what I want to do is I want to digitally reconstruct these environments using a modern process planning software and then compute pathings of agents using avoidance frameworks like RPO2. And then with these computed paths, we can analyze whether or not we reduce risks by amount of close encounters or severity of collisions. I'm sorry that there's currently not too much to see here. The rest will be there by the end of March. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Tobias Kutik, and I want to present you the topic of my bachelor thesis, syntax, steering, and analysis of different simulation scenarios. I want to note that's also very early in development, and the motivation about this is when users work with simulations, they want to change values at runtime and see the effects. But the issue with this is that's actually really hard to evaluate the actual impact of these changes, especially if you want to compare different simulation scenarios with different values. And the only tool, to my knowledge, that does provide such functionality is Wordlines by Vasa et al., but that's not really available. And therefore, Simtrax comes into play, open source tool for Unreal Engine, where you can use any simulation and evaluate different scenarios. Yeah. Okay, the video works. Now, how does it look like? That's the overview with just a little mock-up in Unreal Engine. And you can see on the bottom a timeline with various tracks, each track representing a different simulation scenario with its own values and parameters. And yeah, users can switch between these tracks at any time, and the simulation view is displayed on the top left. And when changing values of a track of a simulation scenario, a new child track is created of that with the new parameters and values, while the parent track stays unaffected, and then users can compare, for example, these two scenarios. Also, there's an analysis view where the tracks are color-coded depending on the performance of certain values. Thank you.
Questions? The GameLab 3 students in the bachelor thesis project. We also have a non-echoing echo. No questions? Well, since I'm supervising most of those projects very closely, I don't have any questions. But maybe, well, what the heck? There are no questions. That's fine too, you know, that's fine too. That being said, I want to take this opportunity to close today's streaming event. For me, it was quite the pleasure. I hope we share this feeling. There are many very beautiful projects, and I can't really express how much excitement many of your projects that you've shown today trigger inside of me. I feel a little bit sad that we don't have this outstanding, crazy happiness atmosphere here in the lecture hall, except for in one specific case. I think Henrik did an outstanding job in presenting his space shooter simulation. Thank you very much for that. That spiced up the whole event a lot. And spicing it up a notch, in addition, we are now inviting you all to the outside. We will set up, within a few minutes, we will set up 2 fire pits. We will set up spiced wine and warm it up. It will take a little bit. Max is already outside, I believe, and has been starting the whole shebang a few minutes ago, so that you should be already be served some hot beverages and whatever pretzels he might have bought or not. Anyways, it was a great pleasure. Thank you very much for your attendance, for your presentations, and I hope that you will take the opportunity and mingle outside, potentially also with our guests whom we've invited to the event today. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.